What's up, everybody? After today, we have to talk about KOHL'S again. Because as you may know, if you're subscribed here, I've made several videos about KOHL'S. It's up about 80% from where we first talked about it when it was a little under $8 a share. My average price is a little over $8 a share. And after the price jump today, KOHL'S is now my largest position. First, I want to say thank you to some of the kind comments on my previous videos. Just to shout out a few, Live to Win wrote, coming back here to tell you I made $30,000 this morning thanks to your analysis. Mike wrote, same here, coming here to thank the legend for this amazing video, made $20,000 from option gains and moving now to just holding shares for the long haul. Victor said, thank you so much. I got your call 90% up today. Are you selling or still holding? Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about that in this video, and I'm very happy for everyone who's made money. But just to be clear, in these videos, I'm just giving you my opinion and normally telling you what I'm doing with my money, but nothing here is a recommendation to buy or sell KOHL'S or do anything with your money. That's your choice. Now, because I have several videos on KOHL'S already, I won't go through my entire bull thesis here. I'll link those videos in the description, but here's the short summary. KOHL'S is still massively cash flow positive. Over the past year, they have $560 million in cash from operations. And even after the run up in price today, that's just a third of their market cap. Furthermore, they're sitting on an absolute mountain of real estate. Between their fully owned stores and their distribution centers, I was conservatively estimating the value of just their fully owned property at, $5 billion. And in a fire sale bankruptcy type event, I was giving them a net asset value of roughly $17 a share. Frankly, KOHL'S was just so grossly undervalued at $8 a share. And it just seemed like no one was paying attention to this company. It was just perpetually on the way down, and I could only find people saying negative things about KOHL'S or calling it the next Bed Bath & Beyond. Now it seems like there's been a bit of a change in sentiment. I saw this article about a week ago saying Goldman spotlights these three stocks, and one of them was KOHL'S. Goldman Sachs was saying, we think KOHL'S is undervalued, a deep value play. I don't give articles like this much weight at all, and Jim Cramer says KOHL'S short sellers should cover and move on. I really don't give this much weight at all. But still, you finally have some people saying some positive things about KOHL'S, and that brings us to today. Today, KOHL'S shot up to about $20 a share on the open, dropped down under 13, and now it's, somewhere a little under 15 after hours here. And the volume today was absolutely insane. Over 200 million shares of KOHL'S traded today. Keep in mind, there are about 112 million shares of this company in total. So the average share of KOHL'S today traded about twice, 2 times in one day. Now, KOHL'S is also one of the most shorted stocks in the entire stock market, with almost half of the shares being sold short. So when you have a ton of volume, a ton of new buyers coming into a stock like this, it puts a lot of pressure on these shorts to cover, to buy back their shares. That in turn will put pressure on the price, pushing the price up. That puts more pressure on the shorts again, and that whole loop you've probably heard referred to as a short squeeze. And that is essentially what we saw this morning, or maybe yesterday morning by the time I post this video. Now, interestingly, of this volume today, about 65% of it was short volume. In other words, of the over 200 million shares traded today, in about 130 million of those transactions, the seller was a short seller. So while it's very difficult to know the short interest in real time, that data is not published in real time, I can virtually guarantee that there was a massive amount of short activity today on this stock. And just so you know, this volume is recorded based on the seller. So if a fund is trying to cover their short, if they're buying back their shares that they sold short, that would be recorded as long volume unless the person selling the shares to them that they're buying back is also a short seller. In fact, mathematically, we know that today a ton of this short volume had to be short sellers selling to other short sellers who were covering their shorts. We know this because the short volume was the majority of the volume today, 65% of the volume. But the net new shorts today is very unlikely to have gone up. We would have seen that in the cost to borrow, and the cost to borrow is not going to the moon. So what that tells us is that a ton of this short volume is just short sellers selling to each other. So as far as what that means for the stock, no one can predict the future, but short interest is still very high. I would not be surprised if we have much more aggressive movement in the price of this stock going forward. And now I want to answer the question of what am I doing here? First, I just want to point out nothing has fundamentally changed about the company. Nothing has really changed about my thesis. I bought KOHL'S because I thought the stock was extremely undervalued. The possibility of a short squeeze was just icing on the cake. I certainly didn't buy solely because there could be a GameStop-like move here. That was just an additional bonus. I think a similar comparable to KOHL'S is Nordstrom, which recently sold to private equity. Their revenue is really similar. The business model is very similar. I think KOHL'S real estate is worth more than Nordstrom's was. But if we value KOHL'S similarly to Nordstrom, then taking into account KOHL'S debt, that would be about $40 a share for KOHL'S. And I think that might be close to fair value. I mean, KOHL'S was offered over $60 a share to buy out the company just a few years ago. Now, the value of commercial real estate has gone down since then. KOHL'S is not getting a $60 offer today. But the bottom line is, I don't see why I would sell my KOHL'S shares here at 14 bucks. I think at $20 to $30 a share, I would be trimming my position. I don't think I'm necessarily going to wait till KOHL'S reaches my fair value to exit. I can certainly tell you that of the 207 million shares bought and sold today, none of them were mine. I did not buy or sell a single share today. Now, what I did do is take advantage of the increase in price and increase in implied volatility a little bit and sell some covered calls against about 25% of my position. I don't want to do a deep dive into options here. I might make a future video on how I use options. If you never touch options or learn about them ever in your life, you will do completely fine. Most of investing is just finding undervalued companies and buying the shares, but I do like to use options to move in and out of positions sometimes. And essentially with KOHL'S, when I've sold a covered call on my position, I'm just getting paid to wait. And if the price of this stock is above $20 at some later date, then about a quarter of my position will be sold at $20 a share. So I'm selling some potential upside, but I've already decided that if the share price moves up enough, I want to start trimming my position. I'm certainly fine with KOHL'S being my largest holding, but there's many other stocks that I like. There's a lot of companies I think are deep value, and I just want to manage my position size. So those are my thoughts here. If you got value out of this video, subscribe to the channel. We are almost at 500 subscribers after yesterday. So thank you so much to everyone who has followed along. Let me know if you agree or disagree with anything I said in this video. If you own KOHL'S stock, let me know what you're doing with your shares down in a comment below. I genuinely want to know what everyone's plans are, and I hope to see you in another video.